Oh my god, dude, my heart is going fucking a mile a minute. I've got to get down out of here. I hope you appreciate what I do for you guys.
He's the man with the most. He's got no time to boast. His truck is made
Oh. Yeah, let's get the hell out of here.
American Cupcake.
Oh my god.
American Cupcake. He's having fun. Just watch your cupcake run. He's American Cupcake.
These are poisonous frogs, guys. Get Tubby's reflection out of there.
Coast to coast, he's the man with the most. He's got no time to boast. His truck is Naomi, the big white whale. She's the one rod that will never fail. Across the country they both sail. He's American Cupcake. American Cupcake. He's having fun, just watch your cupcake run. He's American Cupcake. You know what else makes him great? To all the lower 48 states. He's seen all 5 of the Great Lakes. He leaves all the others in his wake. This name's Cupcake, for God's sake. So you know damn sure he's not fake. Because he's American Cupcake. American Cupcake. He's having fun, just watch your cupcake run. He's American Cupcake.
What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Cupcake Corner with American Cupcake. I am the one aforementioned American Cupcake. Oh my goodness. And we are here in, where are we? Roanoke, Virginia, on our way to San Bernardino, California. We got all weekend, long ass weekend. So we may be doing a bunch of stuff. So yeah, coast to coast, he's the man with the most. So let's get this going.
Let's go see a movie with American Cupcake. Talking movies and hanging out, that's what this show's all about. It doesn't matter if the movie's new. Let's go.
All right, so I saw The Crow 2024. Now, before we even get into this movie, we need to talk about, obviously, we need to talk about The Crow. This movie right here with Brandon Lee, it came out in 1994. It was based on a comic by James O'Barr, The Crow, and it changed. It was, I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, how about if I get my notes? Good production value here, huh? Much I didn't even fucking save it, did I? Oh yeah, here. Look at it. I totally did. All right, so The Crow. It came out in 1994. It was based on a comic by James O'Barr, and is that what I wanted to see? No, that's not what I wanted to show you. In the 90s, as we know from our friend Yo, remember the 90s? I was in 1994. I was like 19. So I the 90s were my that was my decade. I just started high school in 89, 89, 90 school year. And I was in college, went to college. I toward the end of the 90s, I got married, started having kids. So it was like, the 90s was, the 90s was my year. We all remember the 90s if you were there. Yeah, that's it right there. Now, this is basically my uniform for the 90s, for the entire decade of the 90s. And if you're a Gen Xer who is, between the ages of 45 and 55, that's probably how you dressed. And then there was the kind of the goth movement. And of course, if you were in the 90s, if you didn't have a pair of Doc Martens, then you were not cool. And let's so a little bit about Brandon Lee. I loved The Crow. Loved it. I had read the comic once when I was in college and anticipated the movie, heard about it. I read it and then found out a couple months later that the movie was coming out, and it was fantastic. Whole bunch of us went to the theater and saw it. And that's when I kind of, and then obviously the Brandon Lee got, he was killed. Unfortunately, he died on set. And there's a lot of people don't know what happened as far as why, what happened with that. So what happened? There's a scene with Fun Boy, and there's a gun in the scene, and it's right at the camera, and you can see it was a revolver, and the revolver actually moved, so you could see the cartridge, and it was a regular cartridge. But it was supposed to be a fake, not a blank, because the blank. So it was the actual projectile was stuck in the barrel still. So they switched out the gun. Nobody checked it to see that it was, that it was clear. So they put a blank in. They put a blank, and what blanks are, it's just got the blasting cap, it's got the cartridge, and it's got the, the gunpowder, but it's got no projectile. So when they put it in there, it just makes loud noise in the flash. Well, it doesn't. The bullet was not part of the cartridge. It was still stuck in the barrel. So with that blank, they, everyone was doing it. They shot, they shot it, and the force of the blank is, let me check out the chat. Do you have here? I don't. But yes, hit the like, cowards. Thank you. See who's checking in here. We got we got StreamYard, we got Tim. Here's the Dabbleverse. What's up, man? Echo Pineapple, hit that like button. And Tiff, what's up? Man, shut up back there. What the fuck? I'm on live right now. Shit. Dumb bitch. So the cartridge, the blank actually, fired, and there was enough force from the blank to actually push the projectile through the barrel. And the only reason they knew that something was wrong was Brandon Lee was supposed to fall forward, but he went backward. So they cut, and then there was no blood. There was no blood or anything, so nobody knew. And it wasn't until much later that he was pronounced dead at the hospital. And I am such a huge. I was just a huge Brandon Lee fan. I was in Seattle, and I actually went to visit Bruce and Brandon Lee's graves. That was surreal. Like that was crazy. And I actually named my son after Brandon Lee. Kind of dorky, but I was 23, 22. But about the movie, it was a cult classic. It was fantastic. It was perfect. It was a great movie. Now let's talk about this. And after The Crow, the original one, there was The Crow City of Angels. There was Crow Salvation, this one right here. And then there was the one with Edward Furlong, The Crow Wicked Prayer. So there were sequels. And the thing with The Crow, there were many, many, many iterations of the actual Crow. And the story of the Crow is that it's from I believe it was like Native American, like it was a Native American legend that if you were wronged and you were murdered, sometimes a crow would come and bring you back to help you, to avenge, avenge your death. And it was shit, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, the many iterations. So it was, so it the Brandon Lee character Eric wasn't the only crow. There were other crows, there were other comics. There was a female, that was the second comic after the first initial one. It was actually a Native American, and it took place back in like the cowboy and Indian times. So that was, I thought that was pretty cool. So the fact that this movie, they say it's a reboot. This right here was the biggest problem, that they initially said this movie was a reboot of, and then they went off and said, "Oh no, it's definitely not the reboot. It's just a better adaptation of the comic. It's more true to the comic. It's just absolutely, because it's not a reboot. We can't improve on perfection with the Brandon Lee. No, we can't do that. So this is more with the comic." That is absolute garbage and bullshit. The Brandon Lee movie, if you have ever read the comic, the Brandon Lee movie is basically panel for panel of the first comic, except the part where Eric and Shelly are murdered. That happens. That happens in the fourth. In the graphic novel, there's like four, but in the last comic of the series, when it was original, it was Eric and Shelly. They were driving, and they their car breaks down. So they're getting, they're trying to fix it. He's checking it out. And this car drives by with the gangsters, with Tom Tom Fun Boy. God, I can't even remember their fucking names. Well, anyway, all right. Jesus Christ. So they come back, and right there on the side of the road is where they S.A. Shelly, she is graped and murdered. And of course, Eric is the first one murdered. He's like, "Look, just let her go." So then after that, that's when he goes, the crow brings him back. And in the comic book, nobody can see the crow. Like, the crow is a spirit, and the crow actually talks to Eric. Come on, boy, what are you gonna do? Get with it, boy. Calls him boy. And that is, and it's, I mean, you go, the part with the rings in the movie, in the Brandon Lee movie, the part with the rings, he's, that, I mean, it's literally panel for panel of the original comic. Now, when they said that this movie, it's not a reboot, I'm telling you, it's not a reboot. It's definitely not a reboot. What it is, it's just an adaptation of the comic book. That is a straight up balls to the wall lie. I was under the impression that, okay, if they're going to do it true to the comic, it's not going to be in Detroit. It's not going to be Devil's Night. It's not going to be the night before Halloween. It's actually going to be, they're on the road. But no, the only thing in the comic that, in the original comic, that's in this movie is this scene right here. And this happens in Eric's imagination. He's in the comic book, he's on a train with the Skull Cowboy. He's just another like, just a guide in the in the dead world. But this right here, he sees a horse that's trapped in barbed wire, and that's really the only, and other than the fact that the two main characters are named Eric and Shelly, that's the only thing that this movie, The Crow 2024, has in common with the comic book. Eric, Shelly, the white horse. That's it. So any fucking article you read about, oh yeah, it's from the comic, bullshit. The first Crow with Brandon Lee was the adaptation of the comic book. Let's all smoke, everybody. Smoke them if you got them. Let's all light up. The comments here. Put my glasses on too so I can read these here. No, not quite North Dakota. We are in Virginia. What's happening? All right, so I gotta get my pictures back here. So yeah, that's the only, and in the original movie, since and we're gonna have to go back to the original movie because they made it clear that this was not a reboot, this was not a remake. So we're going to have to talk about the 1994 Crow when we're talking about this movie, The Crow. But it's in the original movie, The Crow. You get the Sarah, the little girl. She does a voiceover. There's a legend that when you die, a crow comes back. So you find out right away that okay, this is going to be this is what it is. Someone coming back from the dead, and a crow is going to bring him back. In this movie, it starts with where's that picture? Where is it? Did I not fucking download that? Well, it doesn't start with it doesn't start even with Eric. And the movie is the only iteration where he's actually has a last name. In the comic book, he's Eric. So in this movie, I guess they're trying to say that it's the comic because he's not Eric Draven. Eric Draven is Eric Draven is the Crow movie. Okay, that's the they would love to woke up that film, dude. But in the movie, it starts off with Shelly. It starts off with her. Like she's the first person you see. And the movie's not called The Shelly. The movie's called The Crow. And there's a voiceover of Eric Skarsgård, whatever his name is, Skarsgård. Emo Pennywise is what I've been calling him for a while. Yeah, it starts with a voiceover of him talking about, the love when you lose somebody you love, and it was just so backwards, just so backwards. And Shelly is a prostitute, drug addicted prostitute who gets into with a cult of Satanists, and her friend sends her a video of some horrible stuff, and so they have to run away. And then Shelly, and then I gotta stop saying and then, guys. All right, cupcake drinking game. Whenever I say and then when I'm talking about either a book or a movie, take a drink. You guys will be drunk within 20 minutes. Anyway. As the shark, right? But so she's I'll meet you somewhere. So she runs out of the house, and there's people that are the Satanists that are chasing her. She runs into some cops, opens up her her purse is full, there's drugs all over. So she gets arrested, gets sent to this rehab, and then there you go, drink, guys. Did I not even download that one either? All right, well, you see how that's when she's in the rehab jail. And this is the first scene we get with the titular Crow, or Eric. He's being bullied. He's the guy that's up against the wall. And he doesn't talk, but then Shelly comes to the prison or the rehab, whatever it is. And, of course, they're eating at the commissary, you're eating lunch or something. And, oh, can I sit here? So then that's when their love grows. And she's walking and the doors are open. So I don't know if it's got to be a rehab. They never really say. But then the Satanists come to the rehab or jail looking for Shelly, and Eric is like, okay, well, let's get out of here. So then they go down to the laundry room and they escape with such ease that you ask yourself, why didn't you do this before? They go to the laundry room and he goes, see that window right there? That goes out to the yard, and then we can get out of here and get, and escape the evildoers. Why didn't you just do that before? Why didn't you do that before? So after they escape, nothing happens to them. They just, they hang out with friends, they fall in love, and then it's about 30 to 40 minutes of them in their love story. It's trying to build up artificially this love between them, and there is absolutely zero chemistry with these people. And Bill Skarsgård, he I don't know if, I just know him from It, and I don't know if he has an accent, with a name like that, with the umlaut over the A. I don't know if he has an accent, but it definitely comes out. His accent comes out in this movie. He doesn't Satanist. Yes, it's a cult of Satanists. And Danny Houston, I got this picture right here. Danny Houston is the main Satanist who made a pact with the devil that he could live forever as long as he feeds innocent souls and sends them to hell. Like, what the fuck? So they escape, and after a year or so, they're in Eric's house. And then, of course, the Satanists come. They find them, they kill them, and they suffocate them with. They put like plastic bags over their head. I didn't, that wasn't. So they both die, and they go back to my pictures here. So after they die, Shelly, who was in with the Satanists, her soul goes to hell. Eric, on the other hand, goes to this purgatory limbo place, and he meets this guy, Kronos. And Kronos is the one that tells Eric about, and he basically, Jesus Christ, he basically says the exact same thing that Sarah did in the original movie, The Crow. Sometimes there's a crow that will bring you back. And if you look in the background, it's nothing but crows all around him and behind him. And it's just horrible. There's another scene of him in purgatory. And he gets sent back, well, I need to avenge her. So Kronos sends him back, and he meets his friends, and the Satanists come and they shoot him and they cut his belly, and you see him. This is pretty gross. He pushes his intestines back into his belly, and then you can see his skin like stitched together again. So he has a healing factor, and he gets sent back to Kronos of purgatory. And then he explains, yes, pain, you can feel pain, but you won't die and you can heal. And it's basically like a Marvel superhero origin story. It was just so stupid, just so dumb. And of course, I went into this movie with a chip on my shoulder because this is The Crow. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. And there's a story about you see on his arms the electrical tape. They cut some scenes out of the movie. In the comic book, his wounds really don't heal, so he's got to tape them up with electrical tape so that he doesn't bleed over everything. They were going to do that in the original movie, but it was too complicated, so they didn't. All right, she gets arrested. Okay, yeah. And the things that happen in this movie, they just happen. There's things happen. I just shut the fuck up. I'm telling you, god damn it. Jesus Christ, this bitch back there. God damn. Anyway, so he trying to. It's just so horrible. I don't even want to talk about it. But Eric goes back to limbo because he gets into a fight with the Satanists, and he gets into a fight with them not for revenge or for love, but because he wants to hurt them. And because his intentions are not pure with revenge, he loses his healing factor. And he actually says those words to Kronos when he's in purgatory. I can't heal anymore. That's when I that's when I checked out. That's when I checked out of the movie. Like, I can't. So this is basically just a superhero origin story. Basically, I mean, that's what happens. Through these, yeah. And after that, so he gets his. Hey, what's going on, Vinny? Never seen you before. Welcome to the stream. So after that, he goes to Kronos and says, the movie was fine and entertaining. Fucking nerds always shitting on things. At least the studio took a chance at making movies because of shit like this that we won't get another Crow movie. We can have many Crow movies. If you were here from the beginning, and if you remember, we did have many Crow movies. Why wasn't this just a sequel? Nerds shitting on it because they said this. The Crow reboot. The Crow reboot. David, did you read any of this? They said it was a reboot, while there are many, 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 many different stories of the Crow. There are many, 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 many different sequels of the Crow. They could have just done that. They could have said, hey, guys, they're doing all these other sequels. Shit, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure got a sequel. What are the sequels? Fucking History of the World Part 1 got a sequel. That sequel is 40 years in the making. They could have just made this a sequel and nobody would have said shit. They wanted to call it a reboot so that they would go, oh my God, it's the Crow, yes. But shut the fuck up. That didn't happen. They wanted people to think it was a remake of the original movie so that they would get all excited. We need to stop with these remakes. They should have just made it a sequel. Young David. And we don't want another Crow movie with Eric Draven. That movie is of itself. If you want to make another Crow movie, make it. There are plenty of comic book stories. Why didn't they make a movie of the Crow that happened during the cowboy and Indian times, where it was an actual Native American that, his tribe was, or his family was killed, and the Crow brought him back to life so he could avenge and kill cowboys? That would have been a much more entertaining movie. This movie was not entertaining at all. There was nothing entertaining about this movie. It was long and it was boring. They tried to get the love story, and there was zero chemistry with these people. Zero chemistry between FKA Twigs and Bill Skarsgård. Zero chemistry. So that was the big problem. They put the most popular actor they have in it now. Prague was beautiful. Yeah, and they didn't have to do that. If they were confident in their movie making, they would have just made a sequel. If they were confident in the story they were writing, they would have just made it a sequel and called him Steven and called her Marcia. You know, just what the fuck ever. It was they were trying to bank on the nostalgia of the 1994 movie. You can't deny that. And thank you for actually doing a point counterpoint. This is this is good. I like that. Thank you, David. Thanks for showing up too. But yeah, it was they could have made it a sequel. Now the one cool scene was in the opera house. He goes to the opera house where he has to, where he has to kill Danny Houston's the Satanist leader. He's trying to kill him. And here's another thing. While that scene was exciting, it was action-packed, and it was bloody, and it was gory, and it was people getting hands cut off, swords getting cut, and people getting fucking swords in their heads and shot in the fucking face, and just those guys didn't do anything to the Crow. Those guys were in the death of Eric and Shelly. Let's see. The story, albeit lazy, was a sort of step in the right direction, but they should not have used exactly. They should not have used the names. Shut the fuck up. The injection of monetary doubt was interesting. Yeah, I mean, there were. The movie was interesting. Eric sacrificed his soul to put Shelly out of hell. That is beautiful. Him dying beside her. I disagree. It was schlocky. In the movie, in the 1994 movie, The Crow, you never see Shelly. You only see Shelly in flashbacks, and you see Shelly in the very end where his spirit not reignites. He re-sees her again. He gets back together with her. And that is more beautiful. Now they're together. In this movie, they're not together. His sacrifice wasn't, his ultimate sacrifice was that none of the shit happened in the movie because she's brought back to life. And she's brought back to life. They're giving her CPR. So the events of the movie never happened because they go back in time to get her back to life. So the events of the movie never happened. Technically, in that universe, none of that shit happened. It was a poor movie. It was just. I'm gonna have to disagree with you, David. David, I have a feeling the villain exactly. I get that. The villain sacrificed the innocent for gain. The Crow sacrificed himself for the damned. Only someone with that kind of love. Fine. That's fine. They didn't have to call them Eric and Shelly. They didn't have to imply that this was a reboot or a remake of the Brandon Lee movie. That was the problem. They could have done all that. They could have done every bit of that and called them Aloysius and Gertrude. Could have been the names of the main characters. Again, there was even a Crow TV show, but there were Crow sequels. Oh, let me get your comment out of there. There were Crow sequels. They could have made this a simple sequel. They didn't have to imply the Crow reboot as its Gothic Avenger. They didn't have to make they didn't have to marvelize this movie. They didn't have to make this a sub, a subgenre of the MCU. They didn't have to do that. The Crow can stand on its own. There are many, 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 many different iterations of the Crow. I will go blue in the face. Like I said, there was the Native American Crow. There was a female Crow. There, shut the fuck up. Did you see I'm online? God damn it. It was just lazy writing, seemingly looking for a way to end it. The doubt that the Crow had was really interesting to me. And that's it. That's it. They didn't have to make it try to make it so connected to the original movie, which is why there are articles after everyone was in an uproar when they said, "Yo, what's up, Nimrod? Thanks for joining." They didn't have to use Eric and Shelly. The only reason they did that was for nostalgic reasons, so that people my age would be like, oh my God, there's a Crow remake. Let me go check it out. It's amazing. I love that movie in the 90s. No, they didn't have to do that. Thank you, Acid Dust. There are so many different stories of the Crow. They could have used one of those. There is source material. There's plenty of source material they could have used. But this movie was just some writer who got the rights to the movie. And I mean, it's not even, none of it is in association with the actual comic book. And there are articles and articles and articles you can read on the internet that say, this one's true to the comic. Yeah, this one's absolutely true to the comic. You guys just don't understand. This is not it's the comic. Again, let me reiterate. The only thing that this movie has in common with the comic book is this scene right here and the fact that the main characters are named Eric and Shelly. That's it. And I liked City of Angels. Crow City of Angels was great. Why? Because it was the Crow, but it was different. It wasn't a man and a woman. No, it was a guy and his son who got murdered. So he was avenging the murder of he and his son. It was a totally different movie. Now the studio came in and fucked it up, with a bunch of different, they wanted it to be more like The Crow, but that's where the average person who is a fan of the movie, man, I've been talking too long. The average person who's a fan of the movie, City of Angels was great. It was great. And it was a Crow movie, but it was different. It was a different premise. Okay. It's Brandon's masterpiece and legacy. The times change, and God's subculture is also. But it grows on you. I loved the Mario movie, to be honest with you. I loved it because it was so bad. It is one of those. It is one of those stupid movies that I mean, when it was on cable, you'd be like, "Oh shit, Super Mario Brothers, let's go." But yeah, no, I'm liking the back and forth, David. It's good to have a counterpoint. Thank you. This is good. This is fun. Right. But they didn't. It was, and yeah, in the story, they spent too much time. Deadpool, what's up, brother? Writers ruin everything today. They want to be a franchise to be there. Right. They want a franchise because of the Harry Potter franchise, of the MCU, of the DCU. They don't care about making movies anymore. And I'm a movie buff. I love movies. I love stupid movies. I love artsy fartsy movies. Proteus, Brandon, and Obar knew what the audience wanted before there was an audience for fandom. Exactly. And did you like the comic book The Crow took 10 years. Took 10 years for James O'Barr to make. And he made it because his fiance in the parts of the comic where it's not the Crow fighting the bad guys, that is the love story of James O'Barr and his fiance. He was killed in a car accident and it devastated him. He was just devastated. So he wrote The Crow as a way to express his he wrote The Crow as a way to express his grief, as a way to get it out. And just by sheer dumb luck, it turned out to be a pretty good comic. He was not formerly trained as an artist. He went to and I got all this information about the comic. It's in the there's a link in the description of this video. It's about an hour long YouTube video, and it's great. It explains the comic book. It explains the relation of the comic book with the first movie. But yeah, his fiance, I didn't know this until I saw that YouTube video, that it was he wrote it because his fiance was killed in a car accident, and it took 10 years to do the first one. 10 years. That's how devastating her death was. It was, I mean, it's sorry guys. But yeah, no, that's how devastating his the death of his fiance was. The story and the characters are what we love about the original. Today, it is a wasteland in entertainment to find quality. The new movie is a shadow of the original, but I'll take what I can get. I get that. Yes. He mentions that in that video. Absolutely. Oh, come on. City of Angels was good. It was all right. The production company, the producers in the studio are what messed it up. Story was great because it wasn't, like I said before, it wasn't the same movie. It wasn't just a rehash. Well, let's agree to disagree on that, Rostov. But it was a man avenging his son. Why was she staring at the sky whilst riding her bike? I mean, I haven't seen it in a while, but I did enjoy. I'd have to rewatch it. I may have to do that. I may do that this weekend. I may just do a whole weekend of the Crow movies. That may be kind of fun, because I do have to be in San Bernardino, California, Tuesday, and my delivery is at 10 o'clock at night on Tuesday. So I basically have 5 days, so I mean, I'm going coast to coast. He's the man with the most. I don't know what you mean. They're Deadpool. But it was, yeah. They could have done. I'm so down. I'm kind of down with that. I've never seen the Edward Furlong one, and I never saw Crow Salvation. But we may need to do that. That may be kind of fun, actually. May do it on Rumble. Am I muted? Testing. I don't think I'm muted. Muted? Oh, testing. Yeah, I'm not muted. Why was she staring at the sky? That's probably Vinny, the mythos of the Crow isn't meant to compare characters. It's a supernatural realization. Oh shit, let me put it up here. Supernatural realization of what would happen to different people in different situations and how they would seek revenge. Exactly. That's what they should have done with this one. They should have gone into. They could have made it. They could have made it a great movie. They could have made it a great movie had they focused on that. Had they focused on the fact that it's different. They could have even said they could have even said, there's a myth that many people have. There was back in Detroit in 1994, there was a supposedly man who was brought back by a crow to avenge his girlfriend. Supposedly in 1997, there was a man whose son was murdered who was brought back by a crow to avenge his son. There were so many ways they could have saved this movie. And I am a Crow fan, but it's seriously this word right here, reboot. Oh, let me get rid of that. Steve can see what's going on. Reboot. The fact that they tried to sell it as a reboot instead of a sequel is what killed this movie. It should have been a sequel. I don't have one yet, but I mean, I have one, but I have to make a channel. Yay. And another thing about the it's just the reboot part. The reboot part. That was its downfall. They didn't have to call it a reboot. It could have been, Franklin and Melissa. And they could have used the horse, the horse scene from the original comic. Yeah, they should have just made it another sequel. And they could have addressed the fact that, oh yeah, even hey, what's going on, Sweet Scorpio? Welcome to the stream. And thanks to 31 people hanging out with me here, talking about the Crow 2024. They spent way too much time trying to build the love story between Shelly and Eric. In the original one, they hey, what's going on, boss lady? They in the original one, it was just hinted. She was, I don't think Shelly even, well, in the flashback she did talk. She did have some lines. But it wasn't anything. Well, that would have, Yes, I did. I did see it. It's on one of my other streams. I did see it, and I did talk about it. Loved that movie. I mean, that was just a fun, carnival ride of a movie. Good. Yay, Nimrod's here. But yeah, it should have been a sequel. Should have been a sequel. That was it. And again, I was such a huge fan of the original. Yeah, when I was in Seattle, I actually went to Brandon and Bruce Lee's graves. That's them right there. Normally, when I go take pictures and stuff, I take selfies. Unless it's a memorial like this, then there's no selfies because it's more about that than me. Like when I went to go in Mississippi, there's a shrine, a memorial of the Leonard Skinner, the plane crash. And you go off, I can't remember what interstate it is, but they say, Leonard Skinner Memorial. So you go off the expressway and it is deep into these woods. You drive and then there's a sign that says Leonard Skinner Memorial. You go down this little dirt road and then right there, boom, there's a big memorial. That must have been where the plane crashed. Give Scorpio a shout out. But yeah, I did not. This was a chore. This movie was a chore to get through. It was, and since I was the only one, I was actually. Oh my gosh, I could probably pop that in here. Give me a second while I upload this. No, not that one. Where is it? There it is. But yeah, I was it was the first showing of of the day. It was about 4 o'clock when I went to go see it. I was the only one. I was the only one in the theater. So I was able to express my displeasure at some of the scenes with prejudice, with extreme prejudice, without anybody telling me shh. I there was a bunch of oh my god, and there was a bunch of come on. There was a bunch of that going on. The girl was talking about at the end of the movie, what you love never dies. We love the original, so it's always there. Maybe the new movie will get a younger generation interested. Yes, maybe, but no, it was I didn't believe their love story. I didn't believe that these two people were in love. I I didn't believe it. It wasn't that I didn't buy it. And then there's this whole subplot of she never told Eric that she was in this Satanist cult, that and that's why this is something you should know. Honey, just before we go any further with this, I was in a cult of Satanists, and I was escaping them, running away from them. That's when I went to jail, and they absolutely want to kill me. So we need to go to the most furthest, desolate, middle of nowhere place and live there for the rest of our lives, not in the middle of a bustling metropolis. And it was, and then the last scene, like I said, it was exciting, and it was a good action, lots of gore, with the when he was fighting, but it was in an opera house during the show. You got to think about the mindset of the younger generation. They think that way different. They think way different than us. To them, the rushed love story may be grounded in the out of touch digital reality of the world now. I get it. Yeah, but that's basically. Hi, Vinny. Thanks for coming back. I kind of get it. I'm lagging here. Fuck. What the fuck is up with my signal? Oh, well. I think I'm going to. There we go. But yeah, it was, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it. I'm probably too jaded by of the original. Again, bottom line, this should not have been considered a remake. They should never have mentioned the comic at all. That's the other thing. That's another thing with these comic book movies. Everyone's like, it's just true to the comic. It's true to the source material, and it's just because because we need to just get the source material, and that's what it is. The source material, the comic book. No, it was not. The only thing that this movie had in common with the original comic was the scene. Shut the fuck up. Was the scene with the horse and the barbed wire, and oh great, now it pops up. But yeah, it was. They could have done so much. Could have been so much had they built it as a sequel. I probably wouldn't have been as adamantly against it. Well, not against it, but I wouldn't have been so adamant in the disliking of it. Like I absolutely, I 100% went into this movie with a chip on my shoulder. Like I was, fuck that movie. It's gonna not be good like my movie, The Crow. Not anything like. But yeah, I was a bitch. I was a total pissant bitch when I went to go see this. So I did not objectively go to this movie at all. I went into it wanting to nitpick, wanting to hate it. Again, it should have just been a sequel. Should have just been a sequel. And to kind of alleviate the sequel overload that we're getting all the time, they could have just a little voiceover by somebody, by an old man, by just mention that, just mention the other crows, mention that, back in 1994, in Detroit during Halloween, there was something about a guy in a crow, avenging his. If they had done that, even though I went in this movie with a chip on my shoulder, had they just acknowledged the other movies and had they acknowledged that this is not the same movie, it's not a reboot, takes place in the same universe, obviously, had they just acknowledged that and just tweaked the writing a little bit, it would have been a fine movie. It would have been fine. It would have been okay. But he's only the crow for like the last half hour of the movie when he sacrifices, and that, and the whole bringing her back to life, I didn't like that. I didn't like that. That was, she didn't, the crow wasn't looking to bring her back to life. Afterlife. That was the gist of the movie for me. That was it wasn't about bringing her back to life. It was avenging her death and then living happily ever after in the afterlife. Crow attack. But yeah, so I've been rambling on for about an hour here. I'm going to get back on the road. I've got my next stop is, I don't know. How about we check it out? Join me as I check my GPS. And this is probably the coolest load I've ever had in any of my loads. Shut the fuck up. Dumb bitch back there won't shut the fuck up, man. Listen to what? Nobody's listening to you, bitch. All right. Yeah, well, for some reason, my signal just got shittier. Yes, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, The Crow 2024. We'll give it 2 cupcakes because it was. I don't have the. I don't have 2 cupcakes, so of my 4 and 5. There. Yeah, my signal's shitty now. All right, guys, I gotta go. My signal's fucked. I will talk to you later. Yes. Jaded by the fact that it was, it should have been a sequel. The verdict, Cupcake's verdict on The Crow 2024. It should have been a sequel, and not the word reboot should have never, ever, 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 ever been mentioned with this movie. The word comic, the words comic book probably should never have been mentioned as far as, yes, we're staying true to the comic. I was against, I mean, it was not true to any comic. So I don't know what they meant by that. But other than that, I think we're done here. I am probably going to check out the new Alien movie sometime this weekend. Maybe today on my way to. I'm going to stop in Arkansas. It's 12 hours away, so I'll get there. What? Oh, get there about the 10:30 Central. So I'll be perfect. I may stop and check out the new Alien movie. There are a bunch of new cool movies coming out. Oh my God, when my signal's a little better, I will inform you. Red One. That movie looks pretty cool. Ryan Reynolds, J.K. Simmons, and The Rock. Santa Claus gets kidnapped. There was a couple other movies too. The Joker movie, that looks okay. I mean, they said it was a musical, but I think it's the musical portion of it is going to be a lot of fun. Other than that, I am out. This has been American Cupcake. We're going coast to coast this weekend, going from Richmond, Virginia, San Bernardino, California, all weekend. Going to be doing a lot of cool stuff. But Cupcake, check it out. Bye.
At home or in the truck, reviews and stories, all the fun.